Which one do I want to start with? Start with her Royal Highness. Okay, so hello and welcome back to the First Friday's Bookstream. It is March now, so it's been a while since we've had one, but we are very excited to share books with you. I'm Emily, this is Shira, and we have a lot of books to talk about. If you would like book suggestions or anything, just put them in the chat and I will type to you because we're recording this in advance. Ooh. Okay, so books, yay! We don't have a theme this time. The theme is things we like. That's it. The first one I'm going to talk about is Her Royal Highness by Rachel Hawkins. This is one that has appeared on almost every single Bookstream because that is now a running gag. It is about a girl named Millie who applies for a scholarship to go to a boarding school in Scotland. And she gets the scholarship, she goes, and her roommate, it turns out, is the Princess of Scotland. They do not get along, and she is kind of miserable until one day when they have to do a wilderness adventure exploring type program. They're paired together and things go very poorly, so they get kind of bonded and they become friends, and then they become more, and it's very cute. It's very, very, very cute. And yeah, that's this one.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you about Instant Karma by Marissa Mayer. You are used to a lot of other genre that she wrote before, like science fiction. This one is a contemporary romance. It's about overachiever Prudence, who is very judgmental over a coastal town. She wakes up one morning with the ability to cast instant karma on the people around her. So she all of a sudden she has this ability to like a supernatural ability to do that, and she's very excited about that because she's already very judgmental of everyone.
I feel like this is going to go poorly for everyone.
Yeah. And she's a straight A student, and their partner Quinn, they don't get along at all, but they get a low grade on their project, and she convinces him to redo the project by volunteering in his mom's animal rescue center. And it's a sea animal rescue center, so a lot of cute sea turtles. And so it's a little bit of a stinky setting, but it's still very rewarding and very cute. And so they have these descriptions in the book. And this is a perfect spring or summer read for you to enjoy. And it's very similar to Emma Lord's Tweet Cute. So enjoy.
I want to read that now. So we're going back to, I don't remember when this was published. It was published a while ago. It was published when I was in grad school. It is called Shadow Shaper. It is by Daniel Jose Older. It is perhaps one of my favorite books, like ever. It's about a girl named Sierra who is a graffiti artist. And so she's busy in her summer having a great time doing graffiti murals everywhere. And then a corpse shows up at the first party of the summer, and everybody is like, what's happening? Because a corpse should not be at a party. And then the murals start moving, and she discovers she has the ability to put the spirits of her ancestors into her artwork. So, like, she can ask them for help, and then they will go into the artwork and they'll be able to manipulate the world because they're now like physical.
Wow.
It's really, really cool. It's like one of the most creative ideas for a fantasy, like,
So it's basically they're live, but they're also in the painting.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So this ability is called shadow shaping, and she meets another shadow shaper named Robbie, and then, or maybe he's just an artist. I don't remember now. You'll have to read to find out. But they find out that somebody is going around and killing off all of the shadow shapers one by one. So then they have to figure out a murder mystery on top of the whole corpses are now moving around, and also she has new powers that she didn't know about, and her grandfather is only able to say he's sorry about things, and like there's a lot going on.
A lot going on. That's what I was going to say.
And it is really, really well done because it doesn't feel like overdone at all. It's just very fun and entertaining and just a very exciting book.
I will tell you about With a Fire on Eye by Elizabeth Acevedo. It's about Emily Santiago. Emily Santiago is a mother of a toddler, and she's an aspiring chef. And so she's a single mother taking care of her toddler. And one day she dreams of working in a real kitchen and having a career as a chef. When a culinary class opens up in her school, she wants to sign up, but she doesn't have any time, of course, as with her daughter and with work responsibilities. And she ends up deciding, whether she should take the class and take the class and also go to Spain as part of her class. This is also something she can't afford because she has to pay extra for that trip. So basically, this is a book about her heritage as well as how food brings people together, and it's very heartwarming. And as you can see, the cover is great.
The cover is gorgeous.
And it has food everywhere, and you will enjoy this book.
I hope there are recipes in it.
Yes.
If it's a book about food, I just want recipes.
And there are recipes in
Yay!
there.
A book that you do not want recipes in. So this is called Stiff, The Curious Lives of Human Cadavers. It's by Mary Roach.
That's a nice transition.
Yeah. I read this in high school for the first time. So it's another old book. It's nonfiction. So you're not going to find it in the YA room. It'll be downstairs in the adult nonfiction area. But it is pretty much exactly what it says. Mary Roach is a funny science writer. So she used to write for Reader's Digest, and I think she had a column somewhere else too. New York Times, Salon, lots of places. She is a very curious person, as most science writers are, and the things that fascinate her are the weird things. So when she had a question about dead bodies and like what happens when you are a dead body, she was like, I'm going to find out. And so she did. And she went to she went to a body farm, which is where people donate their body to science, and it is used to study decay so that people who are trying to solve crimes can then like get forensic information from how long the body has been dead. She visited a med school classroom that was using real bodies for dissection for human anatomy and surgery practice. She went to a car safety facility because they were using bodies as instead of the mannequins that you see. Yeah, because sometimes you just have to know what really is going to break a real human bone. So she went to all these places and learned a lot of things and shared them all in a very, very funny but still respectful manner. This is a fantastic book if you are interested in weird things, which I am, or if you just want strange knowledge.
There was definitely a lot of research.
Yes.
Going on
Yeah.
into this book.
And she's done others about like the military and digestion and going to space. But this one's my favorite, probably because it's the first one I read. It's very funny.
And there's, of course, the cover is
I
very
love
memorable.
Yeah.
All right, we transition into an historical novel. It's called Rebel Daughter, and it's by Lori Banov Kaufman. This will transport you into the destruction of Jerusalem under the Roman rule. It's basically inspired on a gravestone that was found in Italy, and it's actually a 2,000-year-old gravestone of Claudia Astor, and the book focuses on Astor, so it's inspired by that. There was an inscription on the gravestone that is a proof of an unlikely romance. And Esther, it basically focuses on her in the book. She's the main character, and it takes place during the Jewish revolt against the Romans. So basically, throughout the whole book, it's a story of survival. And at the same time, Esther tries to be devoted to her family, but she has a different hopes and dreams than what her parents have planned for her, because they want her to marry, it's basically an arranged marriage to another person. And this is something that she might not be interested in, because she has her own plans for the future. And so so it focuses on her, and it's an engaging story, and she basically is determined to take charge of her own life, and this is a popular book club pick for adult and teens book discussions.
Yeah, I think we had like 4 or 5 requests for it, and that's how we found out that it was actually released and out in the world. So yeah.
Yeah, and I had actually a patron calling the reference desk asking for this book, and she didn't even know it was a YA novel. And so it is basically for YA and up.
Mm-hmm. That's the great thing about YA, is that like it really is for anybody. It's just like if you want a good story written in a particular way, 'cause I feel like it's a lot more accessible sometimes, but that's just me. There are lots of YA books that I feel like would be really good adult book club books. Maybe we should talk about that, like in a different one of these. Okay. Everything I have left to talk about is related to death, because that wasn't on purpose. I just noticed it when I was grabbing books. So that's word of warning. What is her name? Megan. Her
Talking
name is
about
Megan.
a Tombstone.
Yeah.
Right? There you go.
So, I don't remember if I talked about this one in our horror month, but it is about a girl named Megan who doesn't really believe in supernatural things and doesn't believe in supernatural warnings especially. So when she starts getting weird things that could be taken as warnings, such as the only letters left in her soup, alphabet soup, are D, I, and E, and her workplace starts getting weird things going on. She works for a ghost tour company in Chicago, so she is a tour guide. She overhears her boss joking about making some of these stops a bit more haunted by killing people at them. And she's like, oh, that's a funny joke, ha 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 ha. And no, actually, her boss was serious. So Megan gets wrapped up in this completely ridiculous plot to I'm going to say assisted suicide, because they aren't just murdering people for the heck of it. It is people who are terminally ill and have decided to end things on their own terms. Still very illegal, but less morally terrible than just like, hey, you're a person and I'm going to kill you. And then she finds out that people in the ghost tour industry are being murdered for real, like not the terminally ill people, but like her coworkers and people who work at other ghost tour companies. And then things get really, really, really weird. This book was really snarky and fun. The ending was probably one of my favorite endings for a book, just because it was bizarre in the best way. Like, the reader can see things that the characters can't, and I always love when that happens. And doing it at the end just made it really, really fun. So if you want a completely off-the-wall dark comedy that is about ghost tours and also murder, this is the book for you. Highly recommend it. Very funny.
It sounds very creepy, too.
Yes.
This book, this is a transition.
Not creepy at all.
A very light book. This one is, it's called Fools in Love, and it's basically, since, Valentine's Day is not too far in the distant past, I wanted to talk about this one. It's a great collection of stories. It's basically 15 stories about teenage love. And so if you read this book, you immerse yourself and get swept away. And what I like about this book also is because it has very versatile genre. So it's sci-fi love stories as well as contemporary, and it's very diverse as well. And so I think you would enjoy this book if you're looking for something light and fun, and you can read one story, and then you can put it down and then read the next one. So it's very readable.
I'm peering at all of the authors on the cover. It's edited by Ashley Herring Blake and Rebecca Potos, and I'm not familiar with Rebecca, but Ashley Herring Blake is really, really talented. She writes fantastic books for all ages. Like she's done middle grade, YA, and adult. There is also, I see Melinda Lowe and Lilian Rivera and Amy Spalding, Mason Deaver, Hannah Moskowitz. Like this is a high-powered, lots of really, really good writers in this anthology. So that's really exciting.
Very well written.
Yeah. Okay. Switching things up. Okay, so this book is called Out of Salem. It is about a 14-year-old genderqueer zombie named Z, and they died in a car crash that unfortunately killed their parents and sisters, but they are also a witch, so that's probably why they did not die, and, well, they did die, because they're a zombie, but that's why they were able to come back. But their magic is rapidly disappearing, so they are kind of falling to pieces quite literally because they are a zombie. And they are trying to figure out how to fix the magic that's holding their body together because they really don't want to be dead. They make friends with a wannabe goth werewolf classmate who is very scared that everybody in their school is going to find out that she is a werewolf. Werewolves are supposed to be registered. She is not. She is therefore very careful to keep her secrets. So the two of them don't really have that many other friends. It's kind of just the two of them together. And then a local psychiatrist is murdered by werewolves, and their town starts turning against all of the monsters in the town. So now they have to try to solve the murder mystery of the psychiatrist and clear the friend's name, and also figure out how to stay alive and keep going in a town that does not want them because they are different and
half dead.
Yeah, half dead. So, as well as trying to figure out the half dead thing, the back says, the best teen zombie witchy werewolf fairy fantasy murder mystery you've ever read, and that is possibly my favorite description of something. Like, that just makes me want to start reading it immediately. It won a National Book Award. So if awards mean things to you, this is a good one for that, because it got one of those. Also, I think the cover is really cool.
It is. I like the contrast of the red and the black. All right, we are transitioning from zombies to monsters and demons.
Monsters.
Oh, actually, no, not monsters. It's actually, because you talked about monsters. It's actually about demons and spirits.
Also good.
Yeah, so that's also good. So it's also a dark tale. It's basically an historical fantasy, and it's called The Way Back by Gabriel Savitt. And so it's actually set in Eastern Europe, and it's based on a Jewish folktale tradition, and it focuses on two teens, Yehuda and Bluma, and basically it follows them through the land of spirits and demons. So imagine demons everywhere. They're basically on trees, they're on rooftops, they're everywhere in the little shtetl. And so when the angel of death visits, the two teenagers start their dark adventure. Will they make it back alive? You'll find out when you read the book. And it's similar to the Graveyard Book and the Book of Dust.
I love the Graveyard Book. I don't remember the Book of Dust. I know I read it. I don't remember it.
But it's if you want to get transported to a dark shuttle with the Angel of Death and everything that's going on in there, including all the demons running around or flying around, then you would enjoy this book.
Okay. So we have another death-based comedy, and the next one I have is also a death-based comedy. So this is called Denton Little's Death Date. It's by Lance Rubin, and it is about a boy in a world where everybody knows the day that they're going to die. And Denton Little, therefore, knows that he is going to die in his senior year of high school. And turns out he doesn't really want to die in his senior year of high school.
Like most people.
Yeah. So he feels like he has a lot of living left to do. He wants to keep hanging out with his friends. He doesn't want to leave his family because he loves them. You know, all sorts of really normal things to be thinking if you knew you were going to die the next day. So it gets to his last day of life, and he has decided that he is going to try to pack as much living into that last day as he can, which means he is going to do all of the crazy things that he would never have let himself do, such as get super drunk and do, like, I think he does a high-speed car chase or something. Like, he just goes ridiculous.
Very risky, yeah.
Yes, because he's like, gonna die anyway, doesn't matter. But then a weird purple rash starts spreading all over his body, and he's like, this is weird. I don't understand what's going on. Nobody knows what it is. He also seems to be escaping unscathed from all of the risky things that he is doing. The back of the book is calling out a shotgun standoff and also spontaneous dance routines at prom, both of which seem like they would end in death to me. He really wants to figure out what this rash is, and if it's the thing that's going to kill him. And there's a lot more. I don't know if it's a spoiler. Trying to figure. Yeah, that's a spoiler. I can't mention it. It is really, really funny. I laughed out loud probably several times while I was reading it. I read it a while ago. And it just was one of those books that made me feel kind of happy, even though it is objectively morbid subject matter. So if you want a weird book that is funny, that is about the day somebody is going to die, yes, read it for sure. Okay. So, Layover Land by Gabby Noon is about a girl named Beatrice Fox who ruins her little sister's life and spends the rest of the day in her car driving around and sobbing. And she is hit by another car. There's a huge car accident. And then B wakes up on an airplane. And it turns out that the airplane is headed to the afterlife. She died in the car wreck. And she is very confused. She has not been chosen to, like, go on to the afterlife. She is going to be working at the airport that is purgatory, helping other people move on until she makes up for the bad deeds she committed, and, like, evens herself out enough to move on. It is both funny and sad in, like, the best possible way. I haven't finished it yet because reading is hard sometimes, but I have been really enjoying it. She ends up at the airport at her job, helping people move on, assigned to the kid who was in the other car who caused the accident. And then they start, like, getting to know each other, and they develop feelings, and it's, like, sweet but also sad and
Complicated.
yeah. I haven't figured out what happened with the sister yet, but it's gonna happen. I'm gonna figure it out. And the characters are just really well done. Like, the side characters are hysterical. It's a very unique setting for a rom-com. So whenever I am finished with it and return it, you can check it out and take it home and read it. Okay. And we have They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. The title is not a spoiler. It is the truth. They do both die at the end. It's another world in which you know in advance when you're going to die, except instead of knowing way in advance, you get a call from a company called Deathcast, and they tell you that sometime in the next 24 hours, you will be dead. So Mateo and Rufus both get the call on September 5th, a little bit after midnight, and they go on an app called Last Friend Finder, I think, which is intended to set people up with either somebody it is their last day, or somebody who wants to help somebody not be alone on their last day, like all sorts of things. That's how they find each other, and they decide that they're going to spend the day together and get as much life as they can out of it on a big adventure on their last day. This is one of the books that I could not stop crying at the end, but that was a good thing. So
It's a good cry.
yeah, it's really beautiful. They end up falling in love over the course of the day, and then they know they're gonna die, and it's just really good.
And this is another book that was picked for book club.
Yeah, it's a really good book club book. There's a lot to talk about. I am going to suggest it for my book club that
For
you've
teens.
just, yeah.
For teens and adults.
It's also, I think the cover is great because the shadow is the Grim Reaper. Spooky. But unlike some of the other death books, this one isn't scary. It's just, like, heart-wrenching. And I checked it out because I want to read it again, because I feel like I need one of those good, like, cathartic cries again. So when wait, do we have more than one copy? We might have more than one copy.
Yes, we ordered another one.
Woo! Okay, so you don't have to wait for me to be done with it and return it. You can check it out right now. And you should, because it's really good. Let's see. 35 minutes. We can keep going. There are more books.
And today we had the privilege of recording the video in the YA room.
Yes, we decided to come in before the library was open and be in the YA room because it is a really cool space and we've never been able to show it on the Bookstream before. I'm not sure the best way to do this. Okay,
Give them a
we're
little
just
tour.
gonna
Gonna take you guys with us.
I'm gonna move the camera slowly, keep it steady as possible. Let's see this. Realize I can walk in front of the computer if I'm holding it. Okay, let's see. Set it down. So my hand isn't shaking.
So
Okay.
these are the new books.
New books. We've got a lot of good stuff on the new shelf. Like a lot of good stuff. Let's see,
A lot of the ones that are displayed are actually being ordered fairly recently.
yes, the new books. Okay, I want to read When You Get the Chance.
Might be a show or a movie coming out.
Ooh, okay, that sounds exciting.
5 Total Strangers. And let's see which other one.
I read The Ravens. The Ravens was pretty fun. That one's about sorority witches, like literally sorority witches. And then somebody is trying to kill them off, so they have to solve the mystery and also be magical and stuff.
This one we got in January. Excalibur Curse.
We've got
Oh, Beasts of Prey got a lot of rave about. Another fantasy.
See if this gets out. I'm gonna read that, but not yet. So you can read it now if you would like, people who are watching.
And this is
That's good
if
stuff.
you've been in our library before, this is the computer room on the first floor. And this is where you can find all the YA books and the graphic novels.
And graphic novels. So we have graphic novels for both teens and adults. The adult graphic novels are, we call it the Graphica collection. So the YA ones have yellow labels, the Graphica have green labels, good stuff in both.
And there's always books on display on
Yes.
the top shelf,
And we've got
And
a
on
place to
Bookstream?
read. We were sitting on a bench seat, which is also a good place to read. There's a 3D printer. There's an emergency exit, that's important. So yeah, this is the YA room. You should definitely come and see it if you haven't. And you can find Shira downstairs at the reader services or reference desks,
Mhm.
and me upstairs at the children's department.
Yeah, we're just adjusting the camera for you guys so you can see.
Is it okay? That's good. That's good. Good enough.
So, do
Um,
you want to talk about more books?
We've got more books. Woo, books. Okay, so
Ooh, we didn't do a graphic novel.
yeah, okay, so this is actually one of the graphic novels we have upstairs in junior high. It's called Magical Boy, and it's brand new. It was a webcomic first, but now it's an actual book. It is about a boy named Max who was assigned female at birth, but he's a dude. He is also, however, the next in line of a long line of magical girls. But he's not a girl, so he's a magical boy. And it was a really, really beautiful and funny and tender, like, take on both the magical girl trope and also self-discovery. He makes new friends. He gets... There's a really beautiful conversation with his dad. It's a really good book. And also the art is... If you like the kind of cartoon anime style, you will like this book for sure. Magical Boy, Volume 1. It ends on a cliffhanger. That's a good warning for you to have.
What about Pity Party?
Pity Party is a collection of short stories, kind of. They are, not all of them are stories. They are all about being a young teenager and all of the struggles that entails. This was both very funny and very, like, relatable. I'm 30 now, but, like, this is a book that I would have loved to have when I was 13 or 14, just because it was like Kathleen Lane gets it. So one of my favorite parts about it is the advertisements that show up periodically for the Happy Friends, which is a oversized costume head you can wear to, you know,
Oh, these are great.
get new friends.
They look a little bit creepy, but they're
Yep.
still cool.
Yeah. And some of the stories are interrelated, others aren't. It's just like really, really beautiful. Okay, so we could go with another one that just made me cry a lot. Or we could
Field guide.
Field Guide for Cryptid Creatures.
Oh, we already talked about creatures.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So if you are interested in cryptids at all, this is the coolest guidebook for cryptids I've ever seen. One of the best things about it is that it gives a reality rating. So you can see the little stars over in the, I'm bad at pointing cameras. That is the reality rating. So the more stars it has, the more likely the authors think the creature is to be real. So it includes things that are proven hoaxes as well as extinct animals that people suspect may still exist around the world. It has stories about them and
Really nice illustrations.
Yeah.
It looks like.
because they're cryptids, you don't get real pictures of potentially fake animals. They have Bigfoot and the New Jersey Devil, Mothman, mermaids, Loch Ness Monster, all of the big famous ones like that. But they've also got some lesser known creatures like
Goatman.
Goatman, Loveland Frogs, those are cool. Those are funny.
Oxzilla.
Champ. Hellhounds, giant hares. They have the drop bear. So if you want to know about cryptids, this is definitely the best easy intro guide. Let's see. We're talking about ones that had been, or that were going to be made into a movie. Unpregnant was a movie. I haven't seen the movie, but I really loved the book. So this is about a girl named, what's her name? Veronica. Veronica is pregnant. Veronica does not want to be pregnant. Veronica has decided to get an abortion, but she lives in, I think she lives in she lives somewhere where it is difficult to get an abortion, and she doesn't want her parents to know, so she isn't going to tell them. Missouri. She lives in Missouri. Missouri does not have great access to reproductive health care, or many places don't. So she has to go to New Mexico, but she doesn't have a car. Her ex-best friend has a car. So she gets in touch with the ex-best friend, and they go on a cross-country road trip so that Veronica can become unpregnant. It was one of the best road trip books I've ever read. Like, it's just really, really creative and funny.
So it's good to take on a road trip?
I would say it's very good to take on a road trip. It's a great spring break choice. And I haven't seen the movie, but I know it exists. I don't know if it was any good. I didn't hear whether it was good or bad, but
Here is the book.
yeah. And the cover is bright pink, which just, I don't know, it just makes me happy. Gonna do Catfishing on Catnet. Okay, so this is a thriller, and it is very fun. Have you ever gone on the internet, on an online community, and like wondered if all of the people you're talking to are who they say they are? Yeah, that's kind of what this book is about. Steph is on a community called Catnet, which is mostly about sharing cat pictures, but is also about like making friends. And there is another user on Catnet that she's really good friends with named Cheshire Cat. And it turns out that Cheshire Cat is a sentient AI. So, a sentient AI who is obsessed with cat pictures. So, Steph doesn't have very many real life friends. Mostly it's just this online community because her mom is always picking up and moving every 6 months or so. She doesn't know why. She's never really asked. And it turns out because they're in danger. Like that's why they're always moving. Except this time the move didn't really save them, and so now their past is catching up to them. So the sentient AI Cheshire Cat, as well as the other friends online, band together with Steph to figure out who is trying to hurt her and also exchange more cat pictures. So it's both funny and exciting. It's just an interesting book, an interesting concept. I read it in one sitting because I wanted to keep going and know what happens. So yeah, if you are an internet person, I would highly recommend this because it is really interesting.
They're made of stars.
Okay, so this is by Ashley Herring Blake, who was one of the editors for Fools in Love, and it is about a girl named Mara whose twin brother Owen is accused of sexual assault by Mara's best friend, but Mara is, or one of Mara's best friends, and Mara is like, I want to believe my friend, but that's my brother. I don't think he would do that. That seems really out of character and weird. And so it, they have to, as a friend group and a family, navigate through this horrible situation.
Very tricky situation.
Yeah, and it takes a really good look at victim blaming and like issues of consent, and also how to support friends going through trauma, and what to do if the people you love aren't who they think you are, or you think they are. This is another one that just, all of the tears, I cried for hours. Well, not hours, but pretty much the last half of the book I was just like sobbing while I was reading, to the point where I had to stop reading because I couldn't read because I was like
Because so many tears.
Yeah, but and then when I was able to read again, I just started crying again. It was, if you need a good cry, that's a good one for that. Let's go with nonfiction. Okay, so if you are a dog person, this book is called A Dog in the Cave, The Wolves That Made Us Human. It's about the way wolves and humans kind of evolved together, and how dogs came into existence because of that, and also how we became the species we are, because that wouldn't have happened if we hadn't started relying on wolves. And it was absolutely fascinating. It's really well written, really engaging. Like, even if you don't have any interest in the subject at all, I feel like you would be sucked into it just from the quality of the writing. It is a long time since I've read it.
I love the cover though. Yeah. You can see the eyes, the wolf eyes.
Yeah. So if you have a dog and like you've ever looked at them and been like, how did you happen? Which is something I ask my dog all the time. Like, why are you a dog? He's not very good at being a dog. He's like constantly anxious and stuff. But this is a great nonfiction title if you are interested at all in like anthropology or the history of dogs, or just like how a wolf turned into a cute little Pomeranian. And let's see.
Oh, we've done this one.
Could do She's Too Pretty to Burn. So this is another great cover. It has been described as an adaptation of The Picture of Dorian Gray, but when I read it, that was not the vibe I got, really. Like, I can see the inspiration, but it's a really unique story. It's a... Is this the one where the two girls meet? Yes, okay. So there's a girl named Veronica who is a photographer, and she's feeling really uninspired until she meets a girl named Mick. Okay. So Mick becomes Veronica's muse, and they start spending all of this time together. They end up falling for each other, and it's this really intense, electric, kind of overwhelming relationship for both of them. And then they get swept up in to a guerrilla art activist group who does like illegal art installation protest type stuff, which is a fascinating like setting for a story. And then they are in this rebel art scene, and they find somebody who was also a part of it, who was murdered. So they don't know who they can trust, and then like another dead body shows up, and then one of the art installations goes wrong and starts a wildfire. And so there is both the fire and the murderer side of the story, which makes it really, really exciting. The writing was almost hypnotic. Like, it was really easy to get swept up in their relationship and like see how they felt, because that's sort of what the writing did to me. And the ending was like genuinely scary. So yeah, if you want a thriller that maybe has some relationship to Dorian Gray, but probably not really, except for it does, but like not art. It's very suspenseful. It's like gripping. Okay, so I also have a book by Courtney Summers. This is All the Rage, which, similar to Girl Made of Stars, is about a boy who is accused of sexual assault, and the girl who basically had her life destroyed by that because nobody believed her. I also cried while I read this one. I'm pretty sure that the main character is unlikable, which is like a great way to tell this kind of a story, because like how do you get sympathy for somebody who is just like not a nice person? And like Courtney Summers is a great writer. She's just a fantastic writer. She wrote Sadie, which was an extremely popular kind of murder mystery thriller. I would also call this a thriller, but it's also just like really hard-hitting, like realistic tragedy. Yeah, there was a period where I just read like every Courtney Summers book, so they kind of blend together, not because they're the same story every time, but because they were all so deeply affecting that like they all stuck. But I'm really bad at titles, so I can't like remember which one was which. So really, I'm just like, so read everything by Courtney Summers, and you will be emotionally destroyed in the best possible way. So the last thing, it is March, and this March we are doing a program called Break Into a Book, which is kind of like Book a Blind Date, which we did last year. Well, it's exactly like Book a Blind Date, which we did last year, where we are wrapping books in construction paper and writing words and sentences and phrases about them on the front to entice people to pick them up and read them. And it's you're breaking into a book because you're breaking open the covering, and also it'll be a great spring break read. So they are going to be kind of scattered around the YA room, and the, well, not scattered, like I'm not going to put them on the shelves or anything, but like we've got a table, they'll be on the table, they'll be on the reader's services desk. So stop by, pick up a mystery book, and get excited for spring break. This one is going to have, this book is what would happen if Narnia and Wonderland were one book written by Lemony Snicket, assuming Lemony Snicket is also possessed by the ghosts of Franz Kafka and H.P. Lovecraft, except not super racist. Probably the weirdest thing you'll ever read, portals, oddities, and more. So that's just an example of the types of things that will be written on the books for you to find. Mystery books, hooray. And we good? Yeah, okay. So next month is April. I would like to do comedy books, like funny things, because I think the first Friday in April is actually April 1st.
Oh, yes.
So that's very exciting and very fun. I might be bringing back some of the books I talked about this time just because they are really funny. But there are some other ones that I have in mind that are also really funny. And yeah, I'm excited. Books, reading, hooray!
Thank you for joining us, everyone.
And we will see you next month.